what I want to do for just a few minutes before we go, I want to show you these phase diagrams. So this is, I think, where it actually starts to get a little interesting. We have this two-dimensional plot of pressure versus temperature. This is just for any sample of a substance at a given pressure and temperature. This tells us what phase we'll have. Okay? Now, for water, this is a phase diagram of water. The most useful line for us is this 760 torr. Okay? Because what's 760 torr? That's millimeters of mercury. That's what, 1 atmosphere. Okay? Torr is millimeters of mercury. That's 1 atmosphere. Okay? So if we have it just open to the atmosphere, that's what will happen. Okay? So following this line, below 0, our water is a solid. We cross this line at 0, which is a phase transition. Anytime you cross a line, that's a phase transition, right? So here we pass the fusion curve to get into liquid, and then we pass this vaporization curve. This curve right here is the same curve that we had for vapor pressure, right? Where it was temperature versus pressure. Okay? It showed like that. So we saw that normal boiling point is when vapor pressure equals the external pressure. Okay? So the vapor pressure, as we're heating it up, the vapor pressure is creeping up here until now vapor pressure is 1 atmosphere. That's when it can boil. And then if you continued heating it up, you'd be heating up the gas. So obviously the different thing about a graph like this is that we have a y-axis that involves pressures. So let's say that we are at room temperature. Let's put 25 right there. Okay. Just sitting at room temperature, that's just a glass of water. Okay. But let's put that in a vacuum pump. Okay. Reduce the pressure. Which direction am I going to go from there? I'm going to go down, okay, and it will remain liquid until we reach a pressure down here somewhere, at which point what will happen? It will boil. It will boil at room temperature. Okay, that's absolutely. Okay. And it can sublime. Let me show you another cycle that can happen. Let me use a different color. Let's again start at room temperature there. After I got married, which was 9 years ago now, oh God, our 10th anniversary is this summer. Okay. Good thing I remembered that right now. After we got married, we had our flowers freeze-dried. And the process that takes is start just at regular 1 atmosphere, and they put it in the freezer. Okay, so going that way. Now you got frozen flowers. Okay. Once it's in the freezer, then they pull a vacuum on it still at lower temperature. Okay. That allows it to sublime very nicely. Okay. Sublimation is a lot less destructive on flowers than boiling or vaporization would be at room temperature. Okay. So that takes several days usually for all the water to sublime out, but it removes all the water from it. They increase the temperature to room temperature still at vacuum then to get the last bit of water out, and then they slowly release the pressure. And then you end up with, at room temperature, some flowers that have all their water removed from them. They sort of look the same, but then they'll just keep. They won't shrivel up and get brown and nasty looking. So that's how instant coffee is made. They brew up coffee just like normal. They freeze it, lower the pressure so the water sublimes away. Because if you just boiled it, you'd be changing all the flavor and stuff. To get all the flavor to stay, they have to sublime the water away, and then they get it back up that way. So there's our freeze drying that happens. We'll talk about the CO2 phase diagram next time, which is a bit more interesting, I think. And then we'll do unit cell calculations, which will not be your favorite thing, but that's kind of how it goes.